Hello ninjas and ninjettes, and welcome to another episode of the Exposure Ninja Digital Marketing Podcast. My name's Tim Cameron Kitchen, best-selling digital marketing author and head ninja at Exposure Ninja, which is a UK marketing agency. This show is all about helping you to generate more leads and sales from your website. And in this episode, I'm joined by Louise Doherty of PlanSnap. Now, Louise is here because she's going to firstly talk about PlanSnap, but also she's going to take us behind the scenes of one of the influencer marketing campaigns that they ran. Now, the success of this influencer campaign was ridiculous. They basically ended up working with 300 of the UK's top fashion influencers, having them tweet out, blog about, Instagram, ASOS, because of this particular strategy that they did. Now, if you're thinking, well, we could never work with that number of influencers because we're not ASOS, it's completely fine, trust me. The strategy that they used is so scalable. So you could do this whether you're working with one influencer, whether you want to work with 5 or 10 or whatever. And in fact, Louise actually doesn't recommend that you start with 300. So it's a really cool strategy. You'll find out how they combined online with offline. And then she also talks us through PlanSnap, which is her new startup, and how they plan on marketing and growing that one. So I hope you find the episode useful, whether you're already working with influencers or whether it's something on your marketing to-do list. And don't forget to head over to exposureninja.com/podcast for the show notes. Louise, welcome to the show.
Hi, Tim. It's good to be here.
Amazing. Cool. So perhaps for listeners who haven't come across you guys or PlanSnap yet, perhaps you could just give us a quick introduction into who you are and what PlanSnap is all about.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Louise. I'm the founder and CEO of PlanSnap, which is an app that gets your friends together. Rewind a couple of years, and I was doing strategic marketing for the BBC, ASOS, Yo Sushi, specializing in either content-led or influencer-led, which arguably are increasingly the same thing. I realized that in my personal life, all I was doing was sports and kind of like fun adventures with friends. So I was doing, CrossFit, yoga, triathlons, that's running, swimming, cycling, and just constantly organizing all these different things on top of, new restaurants, pop-up things. And there was one thing that made me snap, which was I organized a 30-person camping and wakeboarding trip to the New Forest. And I nearly divorced all my friends. I used Facebook events, Google spreadsheets, doodle polls, WhatsApp groups, email, hassling people in person. And yeah, the trip was amazing, but it was because I had put in so much effort, which nobody could really see and nobody appreciates. And what I realized throughout doing that was, why is there nothing out there that makes that faster? That's, getting friends together is really important. It happens every day around the world, but yet nobody's cracked it. And then I realized, I specialize in building digital products for brands which have a community around them. And hang on a minute, if nobody else is going to do it, well, maybe I should just crack on. So that's what I did.
Love it. So this came about also from some of your work that you did previously, particularly with ASOS, right? Where you set up something called Access All ASOS. You're involved with the setup of Access All ASOS, which used influencer marketing.
Yeah, that's right. So ASOS came to us and said, we know that there are hundreds of influencers, thousands of influencers out there. We're starting to understand, how important they are to, both the brand and driving sales. And we as a team internally can't manage them at scale. So how do we manage influencers at scale was the question. And we sat there and thought, okay, well, what is everyone trying to get out of the situation? And for ASOS, obviously, it's minimal internal work with maximum ROI. But for the influencers, it's the chance to be, recognized, rewarded, up close, and to also grow their own personal followings. So thinking about everyone's motivations at the start was how we eventually came up with Access All ASOS. So it's an influencer program where we took 1,000 of the top fashion bloggers and influencers, and we invited them to apply to this program, Access All ASOS. And so they had a little application form. They had to tell us about themselves. We had links to everyone's different social media profiles and their blog. And we, as a team of, I think, 5 at the time, reviewed everybody's submissions. So looking through probably 10 blog posts and 50 tweets and Pinterest posts from every single influencer to really get a picture of what the person who would both be influential, relevant, and aspirational for the ASOS audience. So it was reach, relevance, and resonance that we were looking for in the influencers for ASOS to work with. So we took the top 300 and we thought, okay, well, how can we make maximum impact for actually inviting them into the program? And so I still think this is probably one of the best things I've ever done in my career, obviously up until the point of PlanSnap. But had I known how much work it was going to be, I'm not sure we would have suggested it. So what we decided to do was take all of the information that we'd found out about the different influencers that we wanted to invite to work with ASOS. And we looked at all of the products available on ASOS and we said, we're going to send every single ASOS insider a welcome package that is like branded with like amazing kind of ASOS ribbons and stickers and stuff that had beautiful tissue paper inside, and then a handwritten note which referenced really personal things to them, and then 3 gifts that were again personal to them. So for example, it was things like, here's a pair of pug socks because we see that your French puppy loves running in the park or something like that. That sounds really creepy, but it was lovely stuff. It was, we're not just sending these things to anyone. We're saying, we see you, we think you're great, and here's something that's really personal, like almost like a friend sending you a thoughtful gift. And so we packaged up 300 of these personalized gifts and handwritten notes, and they all got sent off on the same day. And it was so exciting seeing Instagram just explode with all these incredible responses to what we'd done. So, people taking pictures of the note and the box and the gift and then them wearing them. And they ended up into sort of like 5 or 6 pieces of coverage across social media and blog posts each per influencer.
Wow.
And that was just the invite.
Wow.
Then what happened after that was that we set up a platform where ASOS could issue kind of tasks or like fun challenges to the insiders, and they could then apply to do them. So it might be, we've got a new swimwear range, who wants to review it? Or it was a series of like masterclasses. So for example, things like selfie school. So we invited, I think it was 30 influencers down to learn from a mobile photographer who would teach them how to use specialist apps to get like the perfect selfie lighting, that kind of stuff. And they got to walk down the ASOS catwalk and that kind of thing. And they also had a separate Twitter profile that was locked and it was only available to ASOS insiders. So there was a real feeling of, you've been picked because we think you're awesome. You're going to get these specialist privileges that other people are not going to, but you're also really going to see and understand the business and how it works. And we want to bring you closer to us. But yet at the same time, from ASOS's perspective, they said, we've got these strategic marketing priorities coming up, the new swimwear range, or a need for photography for an upcoming campaign that's user generated. And they then had this platform that they could put those requests out and then have them then fulfilled. So it really worked on both sides. And the overall result was that the people who were in the program, so remember they're of the 1,000 top fashion bloggers in the UK, they're the top 300. They were talking about ASOS 45% more than before the program. So it was a real success. It was a 6-month pilot and now it's rolled out globally.
That's awesome. And so we're talking about the top 300 most influential fashion bloggers and influencers in the UK. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So, normally to get access to people like that, you'd typically be having to pay some kind of sponsored content thing, or, it's going to be, I'm not saying it wasn't a huge amount of work, but it sounds like you're able to do this at scale without any of the payment or hassling or chasing or any of that, because you kind of won on personalization.
Yeah, I think it was the matched value exchange. So what ASOS was prepared to offer that was non-monetary was valuable enough to the people who were targeted that everyone felt comfortable and excited. And that's why I think it was successful. As you say, there was definitely a cost involved in that. It was not a cheap program to run, but it in the context of, do you spend that amount on working with 300 Instagrammers or influencers once, or do you spend it building a platform that means you can continue to work with large-scale influencers over time? And it was the latter.
Exactly, and get your content paid for as well.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that you worked on taking people offline and doing these kind of in-person experiences. I think that or certainly when we're talking to clients and they're talking about influencers, a lot of the desire is to keep everything online, to keep it nice and simple, hiding everything behind email. Why do you think that offline was such an important component? And I guess that then influenced a little bit PlanSnap and where you ended up going with that.
I guess behind both Access or ASOS and PlanSnap is my belief that, yes, the internet is great. It does so many things much faster and allows you to do incredible things by connecting people in different ways. But it will never be a substitute for real human connection. So there are influencers in the fashion world that I met throughout those ASOS events that I still speak to now, even though I have nothing to do with fashion, nothing to do with ASOS, and I'm probably one of the most unfashionable girls out there. But it's human connection. It's meeting people, understanding who they are and what they're interested in, and you support each other over time. Yeah, I just think that the influencer marketing is definitely not a kind of spray and pray digital only approach. I think that you get out what you put in, and if that is developing real relationships in the real world, then you'll see the benefits of that for sure.
Super interesting. And I guess that's the lesson that anyone who's listening, even if you're if you're an e-commerce business, you're certainly going to be smaller than ASOS, but looking at how rather than influencers being this really intimidating big block of people that it's very difficult to get access to, actually, if you take a personalized approach, then you can get some really good access and don't be afraid to take people offline. How do you find a balance between, I don't know how to ask it, but not being creepy by going too much into their personal lives versus sending them something that's personal?
That's a good question in general, but I think for ASOS it was fairly easy because these were things that people had publicly said. So, it wasn't a creepy kind of like stalking, finding snippets of things that we had to connect the dots. It was, you wrote this amazing post about, like French style, for example, and we love that. And therefore, here's a French themed badge for your bag or something like that. It was taking what they'd already said and then saying, here's something that's relevant to that. But I definitely think you could potentially get creepy in other contexts. But for fashion bloggers, there's so many of them out there. I think it was quite appealing to know that somebody like ASOS was paying that much attention, that they really knew them and understood them.
And do you think that this is something that smaller businesses could do, or does it only work because it's ASOS and because there's a huge amount of credibility there?
Again, I think being ASOS definitely helps, but I don't think it's something that smaller businesses can't do. I think it all depends on the genuineness of your approach. So if you, respect someone as a human, you're not asking too much from them up front, you're understanding what it is that they might be interested in, not what have you got to sell, but what have you got that you can offer them, and finding that common ground very, very early on. I think that's where actually smaller businesses can outmaneuver larger businesses, because not everyone has influencer programs like that set up. And actually some of the bigger brands probably struggle to work with influencers at scale. But, smaller businesses can spend that, that time and care getting a personal connection with the people who are really important to their brand.
For sure. And you don't need to start by reaching out to 300, right?
Definitely wouldn't advise it. And I definitely wouldn't advise trying to send all of those personalized gifts. I should not sleep for a while.
Let's talk about the transition to PlanSnap then. So at the time of recording this, PlanSnap is not yet launched, but by the time people are listening, PlanSnap is launched. So who is PlanSnap for? Like, who's your perfect target customer?
So we think that we can help anyone if they are connecting with their friends in real life. At the minute, most people in the UK at least will probably use like WhatsApp groups or Facebook Messenger to try and get friends together. Maybe if it's particularly difficult, you might use a doodle poll to get someone to commit to a date. But we want to say that we think that PlanSnap will help you get your friends together really quickly, because it's one platform to manage all of your plans. Your friends don't have to have the app. They can get a text message and then put their RSVP on there. And basically, I just cannot deal with any more WhatsApp group notification. That is what we're going after.
Hey guys, Tim here. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the updated version of our best-selling SEO book, How to Get to the Top of Google. This sort of influencer marketing strategy is fantastic for picking up links to your website. And that's one of the things that we cover in the updated version of How to Get to the Top of Google, which is Europe's best-selling SEO book. You can buy it from Amazon on Kindle or paperback, or you can get it from Audible. That's How to Get to the Top of Google. So far, feedback about the new edition has been amazing. So if you've read it and you love it, then tweet us at Exposure Ninja. I love it. This is so necessary as well. A bunch of my mates get up to play, they meet up to play five-a-side football, and you're going to cry when you hear how they arrange this. So there's like an old Facebook post from 2014 or something, and then they just have this like tier of comments. So when they want to meet up next Monday, someone will just add to this super old post and try and tag all their mates, and then they all say yes or no, and then hardly anyone turns up. So this sounds like a much better solution.
You use a Facebook post from 2014? That's one of my favorite examples yet.
I mean, how clear is there of a kind of signal that this needs to exist? So what's the monetization plan with PlanSnap?
The app is free for users when you download it, but the way we make money is by working with consumer brands. So we work with AB InBev, who is the owner of Budweiser, and they're interested in bringing people together in real life because obviously their products are more likely to be sold when people are together. But it's not just they recommend, go to the pub with your friends. They might want to also recommend going to the cinema where beer might also be sold, or they might say there's a festival coming up that they think that you might be interested in. And for brands these days where millennials are kind of prioritizing experiences over things, and the leisure industry is growing really, really quickly, even though brands know that they have to be connecting with people on lifestyle occasions, not just like sell marketing. There isn't a platform for them to do that. So that's what PlanSnap is to those brands. It's a platform to be able to list the things that they're recommending, hosting, and sponsoring. And when they send those links out on social media, email, website, it means that anyone who clicks on it can make their plan happen really quickly.
Super cool. So I'm guessing that you're basically giving the brands access to like hyper micro influencers, the planner in the group. You're influencing the planner's decision on what to plan for their friends. Is that approximately where this is going?
Yeah, absolutely. The people who know how difficult planning is are the planners of the group. They're the ones who are super influential because they decide which restaurant you go to, because they're the ones that bothered to call to book the table. So, if you can speak to the planner of the group, you can actually influence far more than one person.
Love it. Love it. So this feels like one of those products where there's, I guess, I suppose not too much of a network effect, because you don't have to be in the app in order for your friend to plan you basically with it. But it feels like something that could be quite difficult to get started. And then once it's going, it's going to pick up a lot of momentum. So how do you guys plan to start bringing on users once it's launched?
Yeah, so the way that we design PlanSnap is by looking at every single person who'd ever tried to connect people in real life and looking at what they'd done wrong. And as you say, requiring someone to download another app, that's one of the major areas where this has failed before. And so that's why we took the approach of saying, you don't have to download the app. You can do it via the web invite. So for us, yes, when we acquire users, we're acquiring more than one user, because if they make a plan, on average, they're inviting 5 people per plan. So we do have the potential for that kind of exponential viral growth. But we picked PlanSnap to be, as we would describe it, single player. So it, rather than going on and having, who are your friends within the app, or following brands or other people or anything like that, it's not. It's utility. It's a tool. It's you saying, I'm finding it difficult to get these friends together, and PlanSnap is the tool that's going to answer that. So every time you go to it, it's because you know exactly what that need is. Our launch plans are mainly revolving around kind of organic growth to start with, because you only get one chance to launch and do that launch properly. And so we have an incredible video, which is about how difficult it is to make plans. Everyone who watches it just says, oh yeah, that person is that friend of mine, that person is that friend of mine, and no problem. So that it's definitely a content-led approach. And then we have a big consumer PR campaign, which targets our audience, who we think tend to skew female, because women tend to anecdotally do more of the legwork of social planning in groups than men do, or at least they plan very, very differently in our experience. And then the next phase after that will be drawing on some of the experiences from ASOS and doing an influencer superfan program.
Influencer superfan program, that sounds awesome. So what's that going to be? Can you lift the lid on any Gorgeous details of that. That sounds fun.
Only that for a select few who have been involved in our journey up until now, we have started to kind of unveil some of the details of that, but it will definitely be opened up more widely. So to people who think that they are experts in new restaurant openings or, particular areas of fitness or film buffs or, people who are going to gigs all the times, you've got all of that knowledge, but yet at the minute, there's nowhere to be the first to know about those things. PlanSnap can be that place. And also there's nowhere to get credit for any of that knowledge. And I guess that's where we would like to head in the future, is that giving the people who make the plans and the people who know which plans are cool to make the reward and the credit for doing that great work of bringing people together in real life.
Very cool. This feels like an entire layer that you can insert in people's social lives, which hasn't existed before and could simplify lots of stuff. But at the same time, the monetization and influence opportunities are so big because this is an entire platform, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. Like, it all started because I was frustrated about getting friends together. But the more that, I've thought about it and the more we've spoken to people and the bigger our ambition gets, there is no global go-to platform to get friends together. We want you to be able to make any plan starting on any platform. So that could be turning around and saying, hey, Alexa, who's around for brunch this weekend? And to be that layer that sits across all of your communication that says, it's these people, it's this place, it's this activity. Have you thought about this? This person wants to do that too. We want to be, as you say, the planning layer that sits across the internet. Doesn't sound very sexy, but that I think it will be very, very useful.
I think for the type of people that are the planners, they're thinking, oh my God, this sounds amazing. And then for me, who is definitely an organizee, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, as long as I get the text message, I'm going to be there.
I think definitely we cater to both ends of the planning spectrum. But in my experience, everyone is a planner for something. I've got a friend who she steadfastly refuses to organize any social plan. If anyone wants to see her, they have to come to her house. But there is one time a year that she becomes a planner, and that is the NFL season. And she buys 8 tickets for 4 games. And then she spends 6 months fretting about who she's going to invite. And then the last final frantic 2 weeks, either selling tickets or inviting like people she sort of doesn't know too well, or guilt tripping people into coming with her for those things. Everyone is a planner for something because everyone cares about some kind of interest or people or place. And that's why I think that PlanSnap is something that everyone should firstly download and secondly, will really make a difference to how they can get friends together.
Awesome. So where can people check out PlanSnap and also follow you?
We are in both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. So you can download it from those 2 places. If you want more information, the website is plansnap.com. And we are at PlanSnap on most social media. And personally, I am at Louise Doherty.
Louise, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and telling us a bit about PlanSnap.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me.
If you need some help with your digital marketing, then I have something for you. My business, Exposure Ninja, we work with clients all around the world, improving their website visibility, improving traffic, and improving sales for them. And one of the things that we do is called a free website and marketing review. Now, this is not like some of the free website and marketing reviews that you might have seen online where you type in your website address and it gives you this automated report which shows you a bunch of red crosses and green ticks, just stuff that software picks up. No, this review is very different. We'll spend 20 minutes analyzing your website, your digital marketing, and your competitors on a video. We'll actually show you on the screen some changes to make to your website to increase the conversion rate. And we'll also talk through the top traffic channels that your competitors are using and what you could learn from their marketing and apply to yours to improve your results. Now, if you want this website and marketing review, it's completely free of charge. There's no obligation to use our services. All you need to do is head over to exposureninja.com/review. That's exposureninja.com/review.